And another such theme, the theme of strong ethics in Socionics. I have long wanted to touch this topic. The fact is that, when we look from the standpoint of Socionics, which types are better versed in people, it turns out that this is given to logic types to a slightly lesser extent. They understand people based on some logical observations from observations of people. As for certain objects, they try to look for some logic of behavior in this and build interaction with people only through logic in the main. Their weak ethics in the course of life is filled a little. Ethical types have the opposite approach. They do not logically approach interaction with a person, but are guided by natural empathy and their ability to feel a person individually. And it turns out that in terms of understanding other people, ethical feeling types are in a somewhat advantageous position. Yes, but do not flatter yourself too much, because sometimes we talk about ethics, and then people come to us, recognize their socionic types, and turn out to be ethical. And sometimes they cannot believe it because they still have problems in relations with people. Therefore, the ethical types indeed have an advantage, but it is not as magical and beautiful as many would like. Because it really can give the impression that the logic types do not understand anything in people, and then the ethical types should understand everything. And since childhood, they know how to build relationships, how to live with other people, and in general they are perfectly oriented in this like a fish in water. But ideally, of course, if a person's socionic type is filled harmoniously, and in his life there are conditions for his ethics to be filled and developed and there are no obstacles, or he himself is consciously working on the development of ethics, then yes, very often ethical types really feel many things better. But do not think that this is some kind of panacea, that ethics are some kind of wizards in this regard. Ethical types have certain advantages, but they are not absolute. There are also different kinds of ethics: sensory ethical types and intuitive ethical ones. In general, the most scary people are ethical intuitives. Sensory ethical types have a very strong orientation towards a person, a very big connection to sympathy for a person, but since they are sensorics in terms of some kind of insight, they still can feel a little less in advance the potential of relationships with a person, or what may be in the end of these relations, or how promising these relationships are. But ethical intuitives foresee this much better and see the picture of relations more broadly and immediately. There is an assumption that intuitive ethics are less likely to make mistakes in people than sensory ethics do. They just look at people differently from different angles. Sensory ethical types have an ethical function that is simply more mundane, concrete. It's about real life here and now, about real interaction. While ethical intuitives think more abstractly, so they really have a little better forecasts, premonitions and vision ahead in relations. Therefore, the most scary people are ethical intuitives. Slightly less scary are ethics censors. Then probably follow intuitive logicians because they have a strong intuition. By the way, sometimes their intuition helps them out in dealing with people because it adds a little insight into relationships. Very often we notice when intuition is directed a little at other people, and it can be a little easier for intuitive logicians in relationships. Well, the sensory logicians can only develop and fill their weak ethics. That ethics which is not the weakest they have. Here the audience is asking in the chat, can a strong socionic ethics increase anxiety in relationship? From my childhood, it is clear that something is wrong in a relationship even before the appearance of objective evidence. Yes, it can happen like that. Anxiety is such a difficult thing. Someone will really feel in advance that something is going wrong in a relationship, but will not worry, but will simply somehow try to get out of this situation. But really, if in a relationship you anticipate something in advance, this can be a property of either strong socionic ethics or intuition. It is impossible to say for sure, because we usually do not go from the manifestation of a particular person to a type, but we do vice versa. First we determine the psychotypes of a person, and then we interpret these manifestations. Then we understand what exactly we see. Because sometimes what you just described can be attributed to both socionic ethics and intuition. Here you already need to look and understand what exactly is manifested in your case. But as an option, it can really be a manifestation of strong ethics in socionics.